Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Phil the Conquistadork. Okay, let's talk about Wytchwood. Wytchwood is an adventure slash crafting slash collect-a-thon game developed by Alientrap and published by Whitethorn Digital and Whisper Games. It was released this month, December 2021. This is a game where you are playing a witch that must travel all over the different biomes of a little world in order to craft all the right spells and recipes and regents that she needs in order to defeat and gain the souls of 12 villainous anthropomorphic creatures in the service of a goat that is in no way Black Phillip. So right off the bat, the first thing that you need to know about Wytchwood is that it is a massive collect-a-thon game. For those of you who don't know what I mean when I'm talking about that, I mean, have you ever heard that kid song, I Know an Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly? You know, she swallowed the dog to catch the cat, she swallowed the cat to catch the bird, swallowed the bird to catch the spider that wiggled and jiggled and tickled inside her. She swallowed the spider to catch the fly, I don't know why she swallowed the fly. Perhaps she'll die. This is the video game equivalent of a song like that. There are basically a billion things that you have to find throughout this world. You have to collect them up multiple times in many cases, and you have to craft specific regents and spells that you use against different denizens of the world, sometimes to punish them, sometimes to help them, but always in the service of eventually finding and defeating one of these 12 creatures. So you are going all over the place, and it is very crafty. So you have to build, let's say you have to build a clay pot, which means you have to go and dig up some clay, obviously, which you can find at the bottom of a well or sometimes in different more earthy regions. And you also have to build a cinder box. And in order to do that, you've got to go and find little burning embers, which you have to dig up from cooling fires and that sort of thing. And so right off the bat, you have to build a thing and then build another thing and combine them to get another thing. It can be very obtuse at times. They do a really good job of making sure that you know the general area on where to find these things. I didn't find myself lost all that often, but I did find myself going, holy fucking shit, you mean I have to go all the way back there to collect this thing again? Which means that the biggest draw for Wytchwood is also in many ways the biggest disadvantage to the game. If you enjoyed the aspect of Assassin's Creed, for example, where you go to a map and you want to find all the little hidden trinkets and tokens therein, this is a game you'll probably get a big kick out of. It is very much the kind of game that rewards you for that attention to detail and the ability to just grind and find all the ingredients wherever they may be. It requires some patience, and in my opinion and in my experience, it requires that you play the game in shorter spurts, because I really like collect-a-thon games. I really enjoy that aspect of other games. It was one of my favorite things about Assassin's Creed 4, aside from the pirate aspect. I liked going all over the place and looking for all the sea shanties and everything, really. I enjoy that aspect of a game. It ticks something in my brain where I love making lists, I like checking off the lists, and I like the dopamine rush that I get from that. That is essentially what you're aiming for with Wytchwood. But I admit that it could get really tedious at times. I would say that 75% of the time I was having a really, really good time, and the other 25% of the time I was going, fuck, on some level, at least. That doesn't mean it's not worth playing, it just means that, like I said, it might behoove you to play it in smaller doses. I found that the game took me about 9 hours to beat, and That means that each one of the souls that I was aiming for was roughly 40 minutes, something like that, to go get. Don't check my math, it's not right, but you get the idea. So I would play it enough to get one of the souls, which meant I played the game roughly in 30 to 40 minute intervals, and that mostly worked for me. That seemed to do the trick. If everything I've just described sounds tedious as hell to you, like you couldn't even imagine the kind of person that would enjoy a game like this, then I've done my job. Avoid Wytchwood. It's not the game for you. It just isn't. But there is a subsect of gamers that wants to go out there and wants to clean house, wants all that shit. Usually these are the same kind of gamers that are also achievement hunters. And by the way, on a side note, if you are an achievement hunter, on Steam, all this game requires for you to do is beat it. You get an achievement for all of the souls, and I believe that's basically it. So by the end of the game, you've got full achievements on that, a full completion rating. So that's a nice little side note. That's a nice little PS. As far as the aesthetic is concerned, Wytchwood knocks it out of the park. It has a really fun Grimm's fairy tale crossed with Ren and Stimpy kind of vibe to it. It can be very silly, the characters are very funny, they all have very strange problems for you to solve, and they go about everything in weird ways, including your main character, who appears to be a chicken with her head stuck in a pot. So, you know, if you like playing chaotic, neutral chicken witches, this is the game for you. It's got a very Into the Woods sort of vibe, a very adult fairy tale sort of thing. Just when you think that this might be the right kind of game to introduce, you know, a younger person to, that your kids or something like that, they're just starting to get into games, and you think this is the kind of aesthetic that they would enjoy, and maybe you're right, but it's also got some seriously inappropriate moments too. The villains are absolutely my favorite part of the game. All of them were a lot of fun. Like I said before, they're all these different anthropomorphic creatures, and they're all villains on some level. So while you as the witch, you can sometimes have kind of a chaotic, neutral, almost bad guy kind of vibe. You're just very mercenary. You're in this for yourself. If you're the kind of person who tries to play light side only on Knights of the Old Republic or Paragon when it comes to Mass Effect, fear not. All of the bad guys are truly bad people, and they're really creative. The stories are a lot of fun. At one point, you have to save people from a leech thing that runs a medical station out in the middle of the swamp, and you've come to find out that this leech is actually getting everyone sick and draining them of their blood. At another point, you've got to dethrone a stag that has stolen the crown from its more rightful heir brother. At another point, you've got to save a Red Riding Hood style character from a lecherous and nasty wolf. It's very much more of a Tex Avery sort of Little Red Wolf kind of situation, but with far, far less consent. And that's what I mean when I say that while it has a fairy tale aesthetic, it's definitely an adult game. Like I said, this took about 9 hours for me to beat. By the time it was over, I was happy that it was over. I did enjoy my time, but it almost overstayed its welcome. Just almost overstayed its welcome. And I'm glad that it ended when it did, so I had mostly positive feelings about it as I was going through it. Like I said, if you are not the kind of gamer that's interested in traveling all over the place, in retracing your steps, in remembering the locations of important ingredients and that sort of thing, this is not the game for you. But if you're the sort of gamer who enjoys gathering up countless recipes and countless ingredients, putting them all together at just the right moment, and watching a plan go exactly according to plan, then this is the sort of thing that you should definitely have a look at. So that's Wytchwood. Not for everybody, almost not for me, but ultimately I really did enjoy it. it's unreasonable. It can't be supported. It cannot be supported for many reasons. It can't be supported.
The globe is warming, goddammit. We
Yeah.
can't support Mariah Carey being unthawed for 2 months of the year.
Do you know how big her mouth can get? The amount of gas she expels hitting the notes that she hits?
It is like a void to some nether realm.
Yeah. The flatulence of all the cows in the Midwest cannot equal the carbon dioxide that she just bleeding through the ozone layer with every that she puts out there. Even